Hey, good evening and welcome, everybody. We've got Ukraine update here on the Shills. And we're first, before we even get started, we're giving a big shout out because back in December, a family member here on the channel, Allie, had busted up her leg real bad. And she's been in therapy and whatnot and really working hard. And today she took her first steps since that happened. So woohoo, well done. And awesome on you. Keep it up. So we're going to get it right over to Operator Starsky. He's got one update for us today, but he figures he's got a pretty good one. So let's get right over to him. Hey, Starsky.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, I think that you're gonna love this one. So, the most frequent kind of commentaries that I receive from like Russian trolls and Russian supporters on a YouTube is basically Ukraine has lost already. Ukraine has lost 1,500% of its territory and stuff like that. So there is a company. Actually, it's an institute, and those guys, they are not afraid of numbers. They like to count, and I'm talking specifically about the Institute for the Study of War that made a bunch of really nice reports, very interesting ones recently since the beginning of this invasion. And literally 2 days ago, they made another report exactly for the day of on the day of Ukrainian independence. It was published on their websites. So they, as I mentioned, they are not afraid of numbers, and they analyzed the progress of Russian troops in Ukraine, and they analyzed the territories that were captured, as well as the territories that were liberated from Russians. So it appears that since the end of March, Russia has lost as much as 45,000 square kilometers of captured territory, which is the area is as large as Denmark. And during the recent 40 days or so, they have only gained 1% of such territory. I'm talking about 450 square kilometers, roughly like 174 square miles were captured, while 45,000 kilometers were liberated from Russians. I think this explains a lot about the situation in Ukraine and how this war is, the tendencies that we see in this war. It means that soon we will be able to liberate the rest of the territories, and that's just a matter of time, literally. So I hope that you find this information interesting, and I hope that we can discuss this in details today.
Cool. Awesome. Absolutely. We definitely do indeed. Do you think there's anything that leans towards anything in a desperation sense on their side to go for the whole shock and awe, old school kind of approach very much? Does that lead to that? Do you see that in the intent?
Kind of, yeah. So now they're trying to save their face, and they make up different excuses for losing. And recently they claimed that Russia does not use the full force intentionally. So they stopped using full force intentionally to avoid casualties among civilians. And this statement was made the very day they launched missiles and hit the train station, killing almost 20 civilians. But we see that they're changing their topics. They're trying to find some kind of they tried to find justification, and now they're searching for an excuse, in order to save face in front of their citizens. So yeah, I can see that 100%.
All right. So let's see here. Where should we where do you want to dive in? Claire, do you want to Aimee Science, speaking of which, we haven't seen you in a while, buddy. Good to have you around. You want to jump in on that, or even just unmute, and how about you and Starsky introduce yourselves?
Yes, I don't think we've actually met, either within this capacity. But yeah, I'm very much interested to see what your perspective is on the ground. I'm reasonably familiar with, with Russia and how they've behaved historically, and simultaneously also, how historically badass Ukraine has been. So I'm quite interested to hear what you're saying from being on the ground and being there. So I'm gonna take because normally what happens is that I occasionally dive in on these streams and I talk a lot of shit, but I'm gonna try and do my best to kind of take a step back and really listen to what you have to say.
Thank you so much.
It's a good listen, dude.
It's very nice to meet you. And I noticed, I think Gibson Les Paul there on the background.
Yeah, the Aimee Science is mass into music. He took some quotes from this idiot who knows nothing about magnetism and turned that into that ball sphere song we play as a trailer sometimes. That was AB's creation.
Yeah, so I've got a Les Paul back here. I've got a Yamaha BX bass guitar. I've got a PRS S22, and I've got a couple of pianos and a few synths in the other room as well. So
sounds great. I had Gibson Les Paul Menace back in my days. It was a great guitar. Unfortunately, I had to sell it, but it was evil. Yeah.
Yeah, it was evil, and they don't hold tune anyway. So
yeah, true.
That can be a bitch. So, does anybody on the panel want to get into anything before we start turning it over and seeing what the chat want to ask and stuff? I know that misinformation as it pertains to Russia's outlook on how their invasion is going is getting to a height that's absolutely insane. And I do believe that just came up in that released interview with Starsky that you did with who was it again?
The recent one?
Yeah, just like in the last 24 hours on your community post, you put the link up.
Yeah, I think it was Times Radio.
That's it.
The Times Radio. Yeah.
Yeah, and misinformation has got to a point of insanity. I've had people local to me that admit that they're quite confused when I tell them that we do this stream weekly because we've got an inside guy that can really bring us the right stuff. And holy, can I set them straight quick? But you being in communications and whatnot as well, you would be a little bit more informed than the average person to speak on how unbelievably out of control it is, right?
It's true. So yeah, I'm trying to do my best to bring the real information. Again, from time to time, some viewers say that Starsky is biased. He only says what he tells is being told on behalf of Ukraine. Yeah, because I'm Ukrainian, and You know, like I'm not trying to justify Russians whatsoever. It's like, you know, it's like as if some Jewish people would justify Nazi Germans and Hitler. It's like, yeah, they are Nazi, but of course there were good things. They did tasty beer. That's no, it doesn't work this way.
Great. Cool. Claire, you wanted to get in there.
Yeah, from Rodent, we have a good question. It kind of goes right along with that. He would like to know what has been the most ridiculous rumor you have heard from the Russians about the wall?
Good one.
There were so many of them. I mean, I can just mention things like crucified boy in front of the crowd. Of course, nobody in the crowd has a cell phone to make pictures. Anyways, crucified boy, but that's an old one. It comes from like 2014. Crucified boy, pig raped by Ukraine. Oh my god. Okay, pig raped by Ukrainian soldiers. There was a grandma that first she was raped, and then she was her genitals were glued by construction foam.
Oh,
my brain hurts when I think about it.
yeah, that just made my brain hurt. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then, I mean, I'm not talking about like staged things that were staged professionally, but the most ridiculous, yeah, the one that you asked me to tell you, black magic, birds, freaking infected birds, man. It's, oh my god. I mean, can you imagine like a country would gather United Nations Council, Security Council, and literally say they grew genetically modified birds and infected them with diseases and sent them to our country.
Wow.
This is reality, guys. They actually did it.
Unfortunately,
oh my God.
I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, who are in the kind of UK or Australia or New Zealand or the United States, they would argue, you know, a lot of people will say that's insane. Actually, to those people, I would say, wake up, because have you actually paid attention to what's been happening since the start of 2020? Because that's exactly the shit that certain people have been saying, and that is outside of war, right? So imagine that in the situation of war, where that can go. So it's not actually that insane that people would make such claims. It's not actually that insane that people would believe it.
Yeah, but the fact is that Russian TV is usually, again, because I have to watch it, unfortunately. So now I'm gonna have to, you know, take pills. But their TV is full of those shows about like conspiracies and magic and you know, people with like paranormal abilities and stuff like that. So when they hear such things, they go like, oh, it can be, yeah, sure, it can be, and Masons could do that to destroy Russia. Yeah, of course, it's possible. They want to make us gay, so we stop making kids and destroy Russia. This is how it works.
The most prized sound you'll ever hear in Russia at this very moment. Starsky, like you're short. That was amazing, man.
Yeah.
I can't help but go for the gags today. I'm in one of those moods, you know. Okay, so should we do something more serious, or have we already given up? I mean,
I don't know. We do have some questions from the chat if you'd like, Starsky. You ready?
Sure, sure, yeah.
Okay. Where we did the rumors. So also they would say, I would love, this is from Sweet 70433. I would love to hear about what kind of flyers or leaflets Ukraine might be dropping on the orcs.
There's a bunch of them. I saw them literally, and actually we've been using them for a while, together with other measures. So, for example, we would like we experimented with orcs since 2014 in different ways. We were playing them the anthem of Ukraine on the front lines. We were like trying to destroy their brains in all possible ways. But yeah, the leaflet, the leaflets that are being used basically say, guys, like, you know where all this war is going to, and yeah, we gotta stop this crap, and you gotta confess and come to Ukraine because you have families, and on the terrorist controlled territory you have nothing. So yeah, return to Ukraine and make sure your families are safe and have education and are protected by police, and they have medical services available, and future basically, and stuff like that. And this is true. Again, we had this very, very controversial law that children that were born on the terrorist-controlled territories, they could have easier way to join to apply for universities in Ukraine and receive education and stuff like that. It was a controversial law because people were like, and I totally understand them, they were angry because like spies and stuff like that. There was a case when a bunch of students from the terrorist-controlled territories arrived to Ukrainian military school, and they graduated from the school and they went back to the terrorist-controlled territory. But on the other hand, of course, we should pay our attention to such facts. But on the other hand, those children could have future when they arrive to Ukraine, unless they're completely brainwashed and they see that, yeah, here on the controlled territory, on the civilized territory, we have like civilization, we have access to internet without any limits, we have like working banks, we have salaries, we have like medical services and police and stuff like that. I think at some point they will understand that, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be, right? So that's another attempt, you know, to reintegrate those people, because currently they live in a total isolation, informational isolation, of course, and they're being constantly brainwashed like every day. Actually, like a whole generation was already born since 2014. They were born on the uncontrolled territory and they have never heard a word in Ukrainian. So we have to, I don't know, develop some kind of strategy to reintegrate them back, because otherwise, I don't know. It's a hard topic, yeah.
Well, we have a few more. if you're ready. There's a lot coming in from the, especially I have three just in regards to Curzon right now, and two are from Frank Smith. He wants to know if you feel that Russia cares that they're cut off from Curzon, and also, will they be able to resupply Curzon, and isn't it obvious it's going to be difficult? Um, and along the same lines, they also about the bridge. There's a video going around. It's about 6 seconds in regards to the Kherson Bridge and whether or not it'll be fixed, and if you have any news.
Yeah, they're trying to fix it, but we are hitting it again and again. They, of course, will try to hold this territory as much as they can, but we should understand one thing. Russians don't care about their soldiers whatsoever, and they will throw as many cannon fodder as possible. So it depends, and again, it depends on the number of our machines used in this war, the number of our artillery that is available at this point, because at this moment we already started hitting their personnel. Recently, the difference between Ukrainian artillery and Russian artillery was that they used like 40,000 shells every day against our personnel, while we could only target specific objects like their ammunition storages, their command headquarters, etc. And we already started using our artillery as it's supposed to be used to improve works and fertilize Ukrainian land.
Yes, because that's the question I've got around the use of artillery, because from my understanding is that if you're using it against personnel, artillery is actually has very limited use. It's scary, but it's not very effective. Whereas if you're using it against, infrastructure, it is very effective.
Now, I wouldn't call it not really effective against personnel. It depends on kinds of artillery. So, according to Russian field, not like field manual, according to Russian military culture, if we can call it this way, they have a saying that artillery is used not on targets but on areas. Like not against some specific target, but against area. Огонь по площадям, they call it. Fire at area. And this is exactly how they are using their artillery. They try to shoot as many shells as they can, and they try to cover as big area as they can.
Yeah.
While we are trying to use artillery like snipers, basically. We are trying to hit some specific points that are very important.
Yeah, so from what you're saying, that sounds to me like their use of artillery is primarily to intimidate and to prevent flow in an area from one flow of people from one area to another, whereas you guys are specifically using it to target strategic points to disable certain strategic advantages that they may have. Is that right?
Something like that. Also, Russians use this this tactic of so-called wall of fire. It didn't change since the World War II.
Yeah, well, I would imagine actually that goes well before. I think that probably goes back to Napoleon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because Russian strategy historically and ostensibly it hasn't changed that much. Is purely reliant on sheer numbers rather than anything else. Is that still a correct evaluation?
Yeah. However, even in this invasion, they made some horrible mistake by sending only 150-something thousand men trying to take major cities in Ukraine like Kyiv, Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Poltava, and other regional centers populated by millions of people.
It's almost the same as the Lord of the Rings when Boromir gets sent off to that one battle to retake the city on basically a death mission, right?
Faramir.
Yeah. And they use this tactic of that is called wall of fire. It's when their artillery starts firing at some specific area that gets closer and closer and closer to our positions, and their troops are moving behind this wall of fire. Sometimes, of course, they get killed as well, but nobody cares. This tactic didn't change. They used it in Syria a lot as well. So that's like one of differences. So yeah, the main point is that we are trying to use this artillery as precisely as we can.
Yes.
I don't like artillery personally. I think nobody likes artillery unless it's Ukrainian artillery, of course.
Good point there. We should get Aimee in for a couple of supers here, and then I think Claire's got a couple of more questions we have to get to as well.
Yes, please, if we could. That'd be great. Thank you so much. First, we have the very first super chat is Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin for Australian $5. Says Starsky is biased. Yeah, really? That was a good one. And then the second one is a question, which is from Level 70 for Canadian $13.99. Says, hi, Starsky. I keep hearing Russian YouTube trolls saying that Ukraine will never get their territories back because Russian troops are too entrenched. I would love to see Ukraine prove them wrong soon. Well, it's not quite a question, but it was a super chat. So thank you very much for that. Then Gary Isle of Wight, a member for 26 months, Shill Grandmaster, said, hi, all. We'll join later. Building a curry at the moment, but am listening. Keep taking the tablets. And then we have a super chat from Larry Barrett for $9.99. Says, it's just a super sticker of a hippo in a spinning chair. Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate all the support. Thank you.
Love it, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. And basically, I can answer that commentary as well. So Ukraine was occupied by Russian communists. I'm talking about Soviet Union for 70 years, and whole Ukraine was occupied. And there was no more Soviet Union, but there is still Ukraine. Ukraine was occupied by the Third Reich for almost 3 years completely, and there's no Third Reich, but there's Ukraine. Yeah. Ukraine was occupied by Russian Tsardom for maybe hundreds of years since 17th century, but there's no Russian Tsardom, there's no Russian Empire, and there's Ukraine. So we can solve it. We can solve it. There is another thing. Yes, Ukraine has lost temporarily a bunch of its territories, but Russia has lost its future.
Yeah, in a big way too, because on the world stage they are looking like shit. Right? Claire, you've got a couple lined up there.
Yes, from the chat, Paula Cooper would like to know what gave you the idea to make those Russian shorts that you've been doing. They're quite enjoyable.
Damn, they're funny, man.
Oh my God. It's a good question. Well, it's hard to keep everything inside me, because we're dealing with Russians for centuries, actually. They try to invade us and enslave us, and then we fight back, and then they try again, and it continues over and over again. And we are very much acquainted with Russian culture, or rather with its absence. And of course, they have this propaganda that was invented in Russia, and they put a lot of money into this propaganda to make this to build this image of a supreme Russian Empire, that they have this deep culture, this Dostoevsky and Tchaikovsky and everything. But when we are getting acquainted with Russians more closely, we see that it's not about Dostoevsky and Tchaikovsky. It's about stealing toilets and looting civilian apartments. So I decided to introduce those beautiful people to international society. I'm not making up things, literally. That recent video that I made where a Russian mom, that unshaved and bald one, she explains why Russians attacked Ukraine, and I didn't make anything up. I literally copy pasted their messages that are being spread out throughout the internet and in their media, about infected birds, about Ukrainian language that was invented artificially, about Kievan Rus that is actually part of Russia, even despite the fact that Russia only appeared 900 years after Kiev, and stuff like that. So yeah, and of course we have to destroy Ukrainians, but of course they are our brothers. We love them. They have things like that a lot.
So you just can't make that stuff up. It's so crazy.
And it's ridiculous, and I think that people should see this.
That would go towards another question from Frank Smith, because he would like to know, how is the morale in the Ukrainian military with all of that kind of ridiculousness going on? I would imagine.
It's completely fine. It's better than it was in March. It is. It really is.
That's good to hear. Oh, you ready for more? Or do you have anything, Dick, or should I go? There's a few more.
Sure.
Yeah, let's let the viewers drive this a little more, because it's kind of what we're all about around here, and yeah.
Well, there's
a musical interlude.
And a little vulgarity thrown into the mix.
Well, yeah, okay. There's one from Charles Martel, who the question to Starsky is: do you think that the Russian resistance group Republican Army exists? And if yes, could they be helpful for Ukraine?
Of course, and we would do everything we can to support those gentlemen, because what they do, it's so respectful in my eyes. Those are real Russians that are not afraid to fight for their country. That's awesome. I mean, I would seriously, I would drink beer with them. Yeah, I would really do that.
Yeah,
cool. All right.
All right, so let's see. We do have a super chat scrolling up that we can grab if Aimee happens to be handy.
Sure, we have two of them, actually. We have two super chats. We have one from Commander 401 for $10 American, says, when will the equipment from the Lend-Lease be making it to the front lines? It seems like it's taking too long.
We are not informing people much about this.
Right.
Yeah, because of security measures, but we expect that majority of Lend-Lease will start functioning probably in October, November. I think that in November we can expect some kind of turning point on the front lines.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then we have a second one from Mystery Man for Australian $5, said, are the Bushmasters arriving in Korean? Are they able to make a difference? I have seen one destroyed.
I have seen one on the street. Yeah, I was driving to Hostomel, I think, and I've seen it on the opposite side of the road. Yeah, they are making to the front lines, and if it's destroyed, it means that it was used.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for your support, everyone.
All right, cool. If we go down just a little more, one just came in. We might as well
Absolutely.
yeah, get everything done up here. And I love the username Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin.
I love that one. For Australian $5 says apparently Ruski sunk Moskva themselves in order to prevent NATO fleet entering the Black Sea. Must be true. It was in a Pravda newspaper. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Nice.
That is nice.
One of the craziest things that I've heard on Russian TV was that Ukrainians have dug they have constructed the Black Sea for laundry purpose, something like that. I was like, what kind of crap are you smoking, guys? But it was in the news, actually. Russian media is my personal pain. I sometimes I just want to lay down and cry.
I agree there. There's a strange thing going on where YouTube says Stellarium Celestia, a member for 8 months, just gave like a super shout out, the member chat, but there's no text. But then on Streamlabs Live, it says, wow, somebody became a member. I don't understand why it does that confusing crap. But Stellarium, at the Shills with the big chat you wanted to throw into that, and we'll give it a huge shout out. Should probably fix it. Every now and then somebody doesn't get their message through when they're trying. I don't know what's going on there. But, it's not my tech. We just use it. There's not a lot I can do there. I think questions, we have one or two more, and then there's a couple of topics I did want to bring up as well. So let's turn over to Claire and see if she has a couple more ready for us. And
yep.
Soldier on.
Yes, we have one that's a little fun. I'll give you one a little fun first. William Kirchmeier would like to know if you're a Motorhead fan by chance. It's a heavy metal band.
Motorhead.
Motorhead.
Yeah, I definitely am.
Yeah. Motorhead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and then Julia Astor says that I have heard that military contacts have asked for medical supplies like antibiotic and ketamine, that people are being operated on without anesthetics and painkillers. Could that be true?
I can definitely say that we have painkillers and anesthetics as well.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of them. I didn't hear such things from my soldiers specifically. All the stories that I've heard from my guys that were wounded, they told me that the coolest thing about it is receiving anesthetics. So we have them basically. I'm not sure how is that amount is enough. I don't know, but we have them. At least my brigade. I will be talking on behalf of my brigade. We do have them.
And from Devrim Korvmas, Starsky, did you receive any program offer from Russian state TV?
No, I didn't. Even if I did, I would not agree, of course.
No.
Because like, you know, because there are enemies, and there's only one way of talking with enemies. It's not using words.
All right, here's a big one. You may have addressed some of this already, but from Seprin, I don't know if I said that right, and I apologize. Well, he said, could Starsky comment on the UA Army modernization from 2014 onwards, and what exactly changed?
Everything. Everything.
Yes.
I had a picture somewhere, a comparison of Ukrainian army in 2014 and, for example, 2019. Everything changed, starting from uniform. Of course, it could be better. So you saw that a lot of Ukrainians were using like different camo or different uniform. So they look like pirates mostly, but it's because on the front lines, everybody picks what fits him, what's more convenient. And preferably Ukrainian soldiers like multicam and MTP, British MTP, because it's so soft. It has a really nice material. I have one myself. But a lot of things changed, and the most important thing that has changed is our doctrine, our training, our approach to training. We had a very old field manual, which is like law, in the army. And I think it was made in 1947. And when Ukraine became independent, they literally just like translated it into Ukrainian. That's all. So we had some very old approach to training our troops. And again, a lot of people believed in this myth about invulnerable Russian Spetsnaz. People tried to copy them somehow, which was a bad idea, of course. And when we started preparing our troops using approach that is currently used by NATO, I'm talking about fire range trainings and tactics and things like that. I've been trained by already like new standards in 2015, starting from 2015. First in the police unit, and then in the National Guard. And that's the only way of training I recognize, basically, because we were trained by our Canadian partners, our American partners, and I find it very, very efficient. Of course, we have modernized a lot. So, like, for example, American soldiers carry all of their magazines and all of their stuff like on their belly, or around their belly. During artillery strike, you want to lay down as low as possible. You want to hug the ground and stick to it. You got to be as low as possible, and those couple centimeters, couple inches on your belly, they can play a difference between life and death because of the fragments. So we, for example, used to carry all of our ammunition on the sides and on the back or whatever. So yeah, that changed our training, our approach, and I think the overall quality of our soldiers.
That's a really good one. Should we check in with the panel at all? Monkey's joined. Commander 401 is joined. I'm pretty sure at this point, Aimee Science would have a couple of things that he'd want to, get in on and whatnot. Let's go.
So, I mean, I've got a question. I don't know to what extent you can comment on the matter, but there is considerable concern around your nuclear power infrastructure and what the status of that is. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so specialists of MAGATE, I think they're called MAGATE in English. In Ukrainian, it's called MAGATE. They were assured that they will be safe when they arrived to the station. And from what I know, it's negotiated that they will arrive. It took some great effort, not only from Ukrainian authorities, but also from our foreign partners to make it possible. Yeah, of course, it's a very hard topic because again, Russians they act like ISIS in this regard, taking the personnel of nuclear power plant as hostages and shooting, opening fire at structures around the nuclear plant. So, the only way to make this power plant safe is to have 0 Russians in the area, like 100 kilometers around it.
It has to be de-orbed, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of super chats in, so let's turn it over to Aimee and we'll get those in. And then I do think we have another thing or two from the panel and some questions as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. The first one is from Commander 401 for $5 American, says, oh, and by the way, I loved it when you included Martians in the conspiracy theories the Russians were talking about in one of your shorts. Thank you so much. It's brilliant. And then level 70 for Canadian $6.99 says, are the Taiwanese Revolver 860 drones being used on the front lines yet? Those drones look like they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I only learned about Revolver drones probably yesterday. I think we should expect some new videos of using them against orcs. Regarding Martians, it's like the most hated people in Russia are called Jewish Masons. So it's like, yeah, Jewish Masons. Like, okay, Russians believe that, like, I'm not kidding. Like, you can ask people from post-Soviet area. They believe that Jewish Masons, who, like, majority of them lives in the US, of course, and Jewish Masons want to destroy Russia in every way possible.
Oh my God.
Well, nothing seems to have changed since the late 19th century, hasn't it? I mean,
here, I've got a gag for this.
I think there's certain protocols.
It's almost AB. It's such a rotate and revolve, isn't it? It just keeps coming back.
Well, I mean, it goes back to Tsarist Russia at the end of the day, right? This is all protocols, elders of Zion and shit. This is the same bullshit. This is the same fucking text that, even though like Hitler knew that it was a forgery, he actually personally didn't endorse it. He was absolutely not against his propagandists from abusing that, but we're also seeing that in right-wing movements in the United States. We see people like fucking David Icke openly stating, spreading Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and who's that motherfucker? Edward Henry, who wrote that bullshit Flat Earth book that everyone was praising in Beyond the Curve documentary, that just fucking plagiarizes this document, and that's where it all comes from.
God, yes, yeah,
right. It's all Protocols of the Elders of Zion bullshit, and that is just prevalent, and it's not just Russia, it's fucking everywhere. I mean, you got to remember that Henry Ford was one of the key people in spreading this.
In Russian, this Russian ideology of Russian world, so-called, there are those layers of hatred. First layer is Ukrainians, because Ukrainians should not exist and they never existed and blah blah and yada yada. But then there's America, because Ukrainians were completely bought by America, and America, of course, wants to destroy Russia. But when they go deeper into those layers of hatred, there's Jewish Masons who rule America. And of course, they want to destroy Russia and rule and stuff like that. I have no idea what to take from Russia. Like, they don't even have normal toilets.
But if you go, if you look at the irony of the whole thing, is that you have the American far right who will claim that it's the Jewish Masons that are responsible for the USSR and everything that came out of that, and the current status quo in Russia. So.
And space lasers.
And space lasers, of course, because
it's embarrassing.
Because this irrational anti-Semitism, it's been around for 1,000 years.
Oh dear God! Well,
it came out of a beautiful small little town in Norwich with the blood libel, and it hasn't fucking stopped since.
AB, let's Commander's got a hand up, and Commander knows a thing or two about Semitism, right?
I'm not done with my
I know, but okay. let's let Commander get in, and then we'll get the other supers in.
One thing you have to realize about anti-Semitism, these people say they're Christians, right? But we know Tsar is the Hebrew word for enemy. In the 23rd Psalm, Lifnai Shakan Neged Zorai, that's a plural for, that's where he prepareth the table before me in the presence of my enemies. But let's dissect all these conspiracy theories. There's a global conspiracy to somehow gather all the nations on the face of the earth underneath the authority of a Jewish king in a world of peace and love. And I believe the Christian texts, at least if you're a Christian, the book of Revelations are supposed to fulfill that. Ultimately, the anti-Semitism is anti-Christian. And a lot of the, don't have love, don't have mercy, don't have compassion comes from a book called The Antichrist, written by Friedrich Nietzsche in the 1880s, and it was the book that inspired Hitler, and it said that you lose your power when you pity. It was basically where a lot of the shit comes from, and I may have gotten off track, but it's about the weak and the strong and all of that.
I think there's
actually part of the Russian shit.
I think there's a beautiful irony that you perhaps glossed over a little bit. So they're talking about the return of a Jewish king that, in this ideology, brings the whole world together and the peace and harmony from this Jewish king. What is the core to Christianity? It's that there was a Jewish king nailed to a cross, and that he will return. So if you're very literal in saying that if they're objected to the return of this Jewish king, and if you're going to take it through that analysis, then they are literally objecting to the return of Christ, aren't they?
Guys, I will tell you something. Jesus Christ was Russian, according to Russian doctor. What's his name?
No, Starsky, was that during the USSR's control of Nazareth? Because I remember that.
Yeah. Absolutely, that absolutely happened. Because Jesus Christ was born in Russia. He was definitely born in Russia 1,000 years before Russia was a thing. In a nation, in a region that Russia never controlled. That was famously used as a pivotal region in anti-USSR.
Yeah, I mean the history alone makes it so stupid. But
it's fucking brainworms.
Starsky, before we get back to the other super chats, finish this story because it's a doozy. It's gotta be.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. So there was Russian newspaper called Duel, and they published an article dedicated to the nationality of Jesus Christ. The author of this article was some man. His last name is Klimchuk. Apparently he is a PhD in history, professor, academist of the Russian Academy of Military Arts, and he claims that Jesus Christ was Russian, of course, because he had blue eyes and light hair, light color of hair. And he says that he didn't speak like ancient Jewish language. He spoke some dialect of Aramean language, and he also says that actually, no, he spoke Old Russian language. So, yeah, and because he comes from Galilee, it's not the Galilee, it's Galicia, which is basically in Ukraine, but because Kiev on Rus, that included Galicia, is part of Russia, everything is justified. Yeah, so Jesus Christ was Russian.
Puff the Magic Dragon was from the Sea of Galilee, wasn't he, as well, or something, right? But we should get back to Aimee, and we got a couple other really good super chats we've got to get in and make sure everybody gets their just dues here. Unless Aimee's a tad busy, you never know. Sometimes parenting. Oh no, there she is.
No, I am actually today. Yeah, Matt's he went to sleep before the thunderstorms hit, so that was probably a good thing.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Yes, and then we have a super chat from Sam Williams for New Zealand 89.99. She says, "Hey, sending lots of love and support. Also wanted to say if anyone hasn't seen the Ukrainian short film Ma, that was posted a few days ago, you should. It's amazing, and it highlights the difference between the Russians and the heroes of Ukraine." Thank you so much, Sam. That's brilliant. And then we have Level 70 for Canadian $6.99 says, "Where can I get that pin of Pikachu wearing a Vishanti that some of the Ukrainian soldiers wear?" Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good question.
That soldier, if you're talking about the recent video where he is dissecting the Russian armored vest, that's actually my good friend Yevhen Nazarenko, and I think he's a press officer as well. We have all kinds of Vishankas here in Ukraine currently. You can even find Vishanka with Metallica patterns, like whatever, and they all look cool. So yeah, I think you're definitely gonna have one.
I got called out for my joke on the Sea of Galilee there. But I know. It was just too funny. I had to do it. Aimee, you're unmuted there. Did you want to jump in, buddy?
No, I was just going to comment. It's like if you're going to, call people out on jokes about inconsistency on the myths, when the when your jokes are particularly intended to show the inconsistency and the sheer stupidity of anti-Semitism, then man, okay.
Yeah.
If
No,
it
but-
makes you feel better, Dick, when I was a kid, I wound up, instead of homily, I sung Galilee.
Yeah, no, but I knew it. It's just that they were trying to, cover me thinking I was already too drunk, because that has happened around here a couple of times. And I was like, no, we're good still, all right.
I remember one thing from the World War II. A lot of Germans back then, they were Christians, and in the Nazi German army, Hitler and Goebbels decided to change this because, Germans are Christians, like a lot of them are Christians, but Jesus was Jewish. Oh my God! So they made up this story that some scientists from I'm trying to use this Russian accent again. Oh my God! So they discovered that Jesus actually that his mother cheated, with a Roman soldier. He had a name, I think, Panthera or something, and this is probably she cheated because his father couldn't have kids or whatever, and this makes Jesus Christ a Roman guy. And because he was Roman means that he was Aryan, and yeah, it combines, you see?
Yeah, but you have to also think about the actual mind fuck that has to go around, and this goes around around that whole spiritualism, people like Helena Blavatsky and fuckheads like that. Because if you think about it, Aryan, right? They're talking about blonde blue eyes. But if we're talking about it in kind of our modern understanding, we're referring to Aryan refers to an ethnic group from north of India.
Iran.
Yeah, a blonde, blue eyes. You fucking kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. But because Russians took this Nazi propaganda that was used in World War II as their basis for their own propaganda, so we can see that they're doing practically the same. So yeah, Jewish Masons want to destroy Russia, so let's make Jewish a Russian guy, and yeah, it's legit.
Yeah, but fundamentally, right, because you see this on Twitter so much when, when people try and poke out and make fun and highlight the hypocrisy of, like, let's say the MAGA crowd, Americans or stuff like that. You have to remember that hypocrisy and logical inconsistencies in their myths and their ideologies, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, totally agree on that, especially when it comes to Yelena Blavatsky and crap like that.
Yeah,
personally, when I look back on the whole thing, when you look at Jesus and the person he was supposed to be, and the one that the Russians think that they got, I think that they just mistook The Life of Brian as a documentary, and they really got to take a step back and figure it out.
If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's as funny as all heck.
Oh my
God.
God.
Their best work. It's their best work.
My son and I brought him up. He's only 15 years old. And I brought him up on classic humor. Like one of his favorites is John Belushi, right? And he loves everything Monty Python, but The Life of Brian is one of those things that you just wish you could rewatch for the first time again because of the way it hits you. It's so good.
In Ukraine as well as in the West, there are chaplains in the army, right? People who they're militaries who never carry guns, actually, and they are allowed not to carry guns, of course. So in Russian army, I just recalled it because it was on the news. They have those combat chaplains that jump with parachutes, and they carry AK, and they have those mobile shrines that kind of get deployed, it's like a common thing in Russia. So when they baptize their soldiers, walking with the brush with holy water and baptize their soldiers, they baptize everybody, like Muslims, like atheists, like whatever. They don't care. And they also have this habit of baptizing like their helicopters and their like missiles and stuff. So the funniest thing is when Russian priests baptize Russian nuclear missiles that is called Satan.
I think we know who they work for,
Yeah, we got to do the Satan gag, though, then.
Could it be Satan?
You showed us a picture a while back of some picture of the devil in an Italian cathedral from like 400 or 500 years ago that looked like Putin.
Yeah. It's obvious for adequate people.
Yeah. Should we Putin has come up a couple of times, so I'm gonna trigger off the Grub Muffy dance because Aimee will kill me if I don't by now. And then we're gonna dig into a couple of viewer questions, and then I'm gonna pose one to everybody that will make you go, Jesus Christ. So let's check over with Claire Bear and see if we've got a couple of questions from chat that could come up.
Yes, there are a few. From Sweet 70433, Operator Starsky, winter is coming. Does Ukraine need more winter gear?
That's a good question. I think that we pretty much have winter gear because we live in a country where you have to wear 2 pairs of pants for like half a year. And I think Dick will agree with me because he lives in Canada. So we are supplied with that, I think, as well as our soldiers. Dick, I've been saying that.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that. I always go to speakers when I get up, and you have to be well equipped. But when you are, and the opposition or anybody else isn't, the difference is astronomical, right? It's huge. And when you're equipped properly, you can handle it, right? Yeah. Canadians know, man. We don't have a problem with cold weather. I mean, fuck,
Okay. And on that, I guess because of winter gear, AK Crow 74 would like to know your favorite Ukrainian camo pattern.
Also, recently we have adopted the Predator pattern. It was used by special forces in the National Guard, and now it's been adopted by the whole National Guard. I liked olive. I don't know. It looked nice. It looked like in the U.S. Army in the Vietnam times.
Yeah. Old green.
Yeah. And currently, it's a nice pattern. Actually, I think it's one of the most successful ones that we have. And speaking of patterns, why we like the MTP and multicam so much is because it blends very nice in Ukrainian environment as it appeared. So yeah, but as for Ukrainian, it's Predator 100%.
Okay.
I do want to Before we get to the next one, I do want to say during the Ukraine Independence Day stream, we were putting the link out, or we were putting our email address out saying, hey, if you want to join us, if you live in Ukraine, if the Russian invasion of Ukraine has affected you in any way, if you showed up to volunteer, if you're, doing any of that, let us know and we'll get you on the show. Well, we're going to start expanding that into this show itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to set it up so every now and then, if we can hook up with the right people, not just everybody we always hang out with, because we can get you guys on anytime, right? This is for the right people. What we'll do is we'll do the intro to the show the way we always do, bring you in with a little introduction, and then boom, join. And we'd love to have it. If you're more comfortable getting hold of Operator Starsky, go ahead. If you speak Russian, Ukrainian as your native tongue or whatever, I'm sure we can work it out where Starsky can help you with a little translation and whatnot. And yeah, that would be very excellent. So help us spread the word, everybody, because we'd really like to get some opinions going and stuff. Commander, yeah, jump on in.
Just as a public service announcement, Starsky put a link into on his channel where President Zelensky was speaking, and then there was this very, very beautiful, like 10 minutes of with the little girl. On AU TV English, there is the translations in English.
Yeah, it was a very nice video, one of the most powerful ones, probably. Again, like personally, I didn't vote for Zelensky, but I totally respect what he does, and of course, I totally respect the choice my people did. He does very well as a president. I'm breaking a law by saying this because I cannot analyze president because I'm not a president. But
that's right.
But as Ukrainian, I can totally say that he has a majority of Ukrainian citizens supporting him.
Well, I think it's quite easy to say that Zelensky can be subject to a lot of very, very valid criticism, but the way he's handling things right now, it's he has been fantastic. I think part of it is his background in media and entertainment, knowing how to get a message across.
Yes.
And the fact that he is actually willing to put his money where his mouth is. You can question his policies, and there's lots of valid criticisms you can have towards him. And half of the time I would definitely agree with you, but I think he is doing a great job here.
AB, here's an example. So he comes out real critical of Canada, where I live, over the whole turbine with the energy flow to Germany issue, right? And so there's some discussions in the background. And now we've got Germany's representatives over here in Canada, and we're signing a new energy deal to be shipping them over stuff and whatnot and yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And in the background, there was more than just two countries talking about this, right? So, and now he seems to be very positive of the situation. And that shows that there's no anger driving decisions. There's no animosity that's going to be carried on in a schoolboy format. He is simply responding to the facts and the situations in a very, very good way. And the world will not forget the guy. Right.
Yeah. Because I think at the end of the day, you can ideologically disagree with him. As I said, there's lots of valid criticism that can be leveled at him, right from his campaign platform to a pre-quote unquote war policies. but he's a fucking adult in the room.
Totally. Always.
Yeah, as a military, I would be kind of upset if he was chilling in the US at this point and I was running around like crazy with an assault rifle here in Ukraine.
Right.
But at this point, we're in the same boat. We're in the same situation. He is in Kiev. I am in Kiev, and we are subject of potential missile strike.
As much as a modern leader is allowed to be, he's playing it Alexander the Great style, and he's there with everybody. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, his initial response, and that's a huge respect, right? Because now he's taken more of a more of a traditional politician, traditional leader perspective, a little bit more background, high level, overseeing the war effort. But if you think about it, in the first few days, he was on the ground, and he was physically involved in the initial efforts, and as the need for him to be in the field diminished, he adapted to the best role he could play, and of course that was always going to be in the position that he was in. But he didn't shy away from
not even close
from being in the field. And
it was impressive to the world. It was impressive.
I really liked it when he said that I don't need a shelter, I need weapons. And
I don't need a ride, I need ammunition.
Respect. I think he does a great job.
Yeah, but I've also got to look at it under the lens of, he is an entertainer. He's got, background as an entertainer.
But he sells it so well.
He knows how to sell it. Even his harshest critics will argue it's like that. All of that at the start of that was just for show. It was just for morale. But I'm going to say it's like, well, even if that is true, that was the right fucking decision.
True, but it was only reality. It's just like now. He doesn't bother with makeup and three-piece suits. He wears what he wears to make sure he's one of everybody else and steps up and just does his thing. And that screams to the average man, right? It does,
precisely. Because even if you're trying to argue that it is superficial and that it is just for show, just for propaganda purposes,
it isn't.
No, because but even if that is valid, show and propaganda has a very important role to play, right? Because we have this negative connotation with the term propaganda, but propaganda in isolation is not necessarily a bad thing. It's the motivations behind propaganda, and it's whether it's done in good or bad faith that renders that a good or a bad thing. And that's the important bit to remember. And if you're doing that in good faith with the best intentions, then so even if you are trying to diminish, and I really want to stress that, even if you are trying to diminish that the way he's presented himself so far, you still haven't got a point, because even if that is true, he is doing the right thing.
I can tell you from the point of view of a Ukrainian that he does what Ukrainian nation does at this point. He evolves, Ukrainians are very, very good at learning, no matter if they have to learn how to operate M777 howitzer that was delivered from the UK or the US, or if they have to master economics or whatever. And our president is the same. So in my opinion, like what I observed since 2019 when he became a president, he evolves. He got rid of a majority of Russian supporters in his team, which is great. He understood that no, that they are like wrong passengers on this train, and yeah, and he turns into a very, very tough politician. So I can only respect that.
Yeah, I have nothing but respect for him. I think there are very few politicians in the world that, I don't think there are any.
I was going to say I love the video after the speech.
Yeah. AB, can you imagine any of the quote unquote Western societies right now having that kind of universal political support to one person? I mean, we're lucky to get over minority victories right now in government and just have a stalemate that does nothing.
Yeah, but I suppose, Ukraine, political landscape is a little bit different. You've always had you do have the fascists there in Ukraine, obviously. We understand that, and we know that there are Ukrainian fascist nationalists there. But that's always been an undercurrent. They're not on the rise as they are in say the US or the UK or New Zealand or it's a slightly different takeover because the biggest threat is external, whereas the biggest threat to our societies is internal.
Yeah, good call there. Starsky, did you want to come back on that, or should we do a couple of questions there?
I've just been answering the commentary in the chat.
Saw that. Yeah.
Iron Joker. Actually, it was like we were making this speech dedicated to orcs together with our Sergeant Major, and I said that you thought that our president was a clown, but he had turned to be an Iron Joker who kills you, and. Actually, I never expected that to become like a meme or whatever. But yeah, it's very nice. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Awesome. Oh, okay. So let's hand it over to a couple of questions as we regroup and reshuffle. And I think Claire's probably got a couple lined up and ready for us if we give her a chance to get ready.
Yes. There's a little more serious one from Charles Montel. If Poland would be willing to send troops to help Ukraine at the Belarusian border for peacekeeping, would Ukraine want that or not?
Can you repeat that once again, please?
Okay.
I missed.
It's okay. It's in regards to the Belarusian border and whether or not you would like to have Poland send troops to help keep those soldiers out. Would Ukraine would like that help?
Sure, we would definitely like to have that. Of course, we would like to have peacekeepers from the United Nations present here.
Mm-hmm.
The only problem is that Russia is vetoing this decision all the time as a member of the United Nations so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one more, which is more in line with what you love to do. How can we convince the average Russian that they are being lied to by the Russian media?
Oh, good one.
It's very easy. The only problem is that you will have to spend like $5 billion every year for the media. That's as easy as that.
Oh, I just counter it with the truth, right? Yeah. That's it. Well, anyone else?
Well,
yeah, with that point, we are barely in a position to defend ourselves, our own internal information and news outlets from Russian bullshit. So how can we fight back against that?
Yeah, they're spending enormous money. Oh, I'm smoking here.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
They're spending enormous money on propaganda because they have a lot of oil, a lot of gas. Of course, it's much better to spend those money on propaganda and bullshit instead of improving the life of their citizens and building roads and I don't know, drugstores, whatever. So yeah, it's they can do that, definitely.
They've shown a history over time of always prioritizing the state over the people, to the point where like even the state have crappy cars to drive, but the people's are horrific and stuff and whatnot. And they're cranking out tanks and all kinds of other military machines. So you must have the engineers. You can see that the rest of the world is driving cars that are like 20 years newer in, design and whatnot. Like, it really shows that they never gave a rat's ass except for those that were the elite. And it's still the same.
Yeah, and still there's like a lot of Russians have this nostalgia for the USSR. My best buddy, our Sergeant Major, Stas, he said that his dad actually wanted to buy a car, and he asked some person responsible to that, can he buy a Volga? Because Volga back then in 70s, 80s, it was a nice car, okay? But he was told that you cannot buy Volga because our chiefs of the Communist Party, they drive Volgas, and people will start talking, it's bad, so better buy some kind of Lada or Zhiguli, and
Yeah.
and as soon as the USSR collapsed, he was spending money like crazy. He was buying good cars and nice stuff and clothes, and unfortunately he died, I think from heart attack. But until that day, like for 15 years, he was enjoying freedom. He said, F that USSR and F everything related to it, because I can finally live like a normal human being.
That's one of those things that you don't expect to hear in a balanced society as per the doctrine of the whole structure, right?
Yeah, it's like if you're wearing nice clothes like jeans, okay, back in USSR, people could start talking, like,
Yeah.
is your dad like an authority? He is in the party? No? Oh, so where did you get the money to buy those? And on the first place, how did you get those? KGB, I have a problem, because only like top ranked people in the USSR who were, of course, like authorities or prosecutors or secretaries of the Communist Party, they could allow it. They were allowed to have nice things and drive good cars and stuff. All the rest of the slaves were not allowed to do that, and I'm talking basically about 99% of citizens of the Soviet Union. I mean, people who were occupied by this regime. On the other hand, though, they made a lot of beautiful movies about the beautiful, wonderful life in the USSR. And when people watch those movies, where they they even in those movies they have a lot of poverty and stuff, but they are cheerful and they say that it's so good to live in the USSR. We are protected and stuff. And the most amazing thing is that when young people who never experienced that, I did, because I was like 6 years old or 7 years old when the USSR collapsed. So I still remember those freaking lines in the stores where you could buy like a piece of soap and a bread, and that's it. And you had to stay in the line for like freaking 5 hours. And all the kids were wearing the same stuff because there were like same jackets, same boots, same pants, and you couldn't buy anything else. And young people in Russia who are fond of those movies about the USSR, they also have this nostalgia. They literally believe that the life was so good. They had the strongest army, and they were supplied by everything. They had like everything. I sometimes, like when I watch like American movies where like you are 16 years old and you could jump into a car and get your buddies and go to a shore and have a beer.
Right.
You couldn't do that in the USSR. It wasn't like that. It was like a crime, and of course you couldn't have a car if you're 16.
Just like Sweet Seraph says in the chat there, brainwashing. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's bring that in with a big boom. Brainwashing.
Yeah, because one of the things that I really struggle with, I mean, and it kind of goes with Alexander Dugin's kind of nonsense. It's because there is this nostalgia, like within the philosophical framework upon which Putin has built, has built his policy, and it's that idea of Eurasianism. A couple of tenets that the world would be better off, like if there were one big Russian empire, something akin to the USSR, but it is distinctly not an authoritarian communist framework. And it's still, mind you, I suppose USSR is not going to be that different to that hyper-capitalist framework that Putin likes to imagine, where power is concentrated to the ruling class, because at the end of the day it all boils down to whether it's an oligarchy or not, isn't it? But how do you sell that? Because to the everyday punter on the street, what they're then using is this propaganda about how communism will help the common man, but they're using that to position this vision of a system that is anything but. I'm just trying to figure out how that works out, and how people can fall for that.
It's a bit different now. So Russians currently recognize that communism was a bad idea, but USSR was a good idea because it was like a big state ruled by Moscow, and supreme Russian people did everything they cared.
Which is, but that's the thing. If you just have a vague understanding of history, it's the USSR is the reason why the communism was a bad idea, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the bases is for the popularity of Putin back in the 90s was like beginning of 2000s, let's say, was that he promised Russians that they will never return back to the 90s because 90s were tough in the post-USSR area. It was tough in Ukraine, tough in Belarus, tough in Russia, default and stuff. They, of course, they don't want to remember so-called the legs of Bush. This is how they called the humanitarian aid, because there was poverty and famine in Russia, and the United States were sending chicken to Russian citizens as a humanitarian aid, basically. And those chicken legs were called legs of Bush. They don't want to remember that because, now Putin says that like every time that there's some kind of decision to be made, he says we have to do it our way to make sure that West doesn't bring us back into the 90s. And everybody, oh my God, 90s, no, like anything but 90s. It was horrible. And currently what they have is basically 90s. They're isolated. They have the biggest number of sanctions placed on Russia, and they have like zero things they can buy in the store except for like buckwheat and
Yeah,
it's like
Russia's
Christmas
fucked
in
right now.
'78, right? When everything was burgundy and it just looked like shit.
Yeah,
and I think that Commander is trying to say something for the third time, probably.
Oh yeah.
I actually looked up the Lavda. I looked up that. I just Googled shitty Soviet car, and I looked at the newest version, the 2021, and the dashboard looks exactly like my 2009 Chevy Aveo. Let me give you a commercial on how they're selling it. It has
Nice.
side view windows, and it had the lights turn on automatically on the dashboard. And it has an 80 horsepower engine, which is just as powerful as a 1990s Honda. It's just like a motorcycle with car around it. It's actually very, very shitty. And it has headlights, and they're highlighting things that every bloody car in existence has. And guess what? This fucking car is more expensive than I paid for the Aveo that had everything back in 2009.
So basically, it's marketing all the basic features that are required by law in every fucking country.
This thing couldn't be sold in the United States because it's so underpowered.
Jesus, yeah, it couldn't be sold in the United States. That is saying something. I mean,
this is what these people are used to.
I spent some time in Cuba, right? At least they had the fucking decency to take the old 50s cars and retrofit them, right? The actual nice cars they had in the 50s and make it, make them tasty and a bit more efficient for a modern world. And in fairness, it's a beautiful thing. But yeah, you've got these fucking cars, and then you've got the Trabant in East Germany.
Oh my God, what a piece of junk.
I was tempted to buy one not that long ago just for nostalgia purposes, but I figured that's too much money for kind of for ironic for an ironic.
That's right. The shitty Soviet car wasn't even of Soviet design. It was a copy of a Fiat.
Yeah, here it is on screen. Starsky sent it over. It's a Fiat 125. Everybody knows the story. And what the USSR did was they toughened up the steel because it would have rotted in 6 months. And they toughened up the suspension because the roads were terrible. And they made a great driving car shitty. That's what they did. They destroyed it.
I had like a collection of such pictures like you see on the screen, like all of the things that were stolen by Russians, by Soviet Russians, including weapons, food, clothes, cassette players, and things like that, and radio players, and the list was big. It was very long list of such pictures, the original and the copy, including the, like, I don't know, their famous Makarov pistol, that was copied from James Bond's Walther PPK. They have similar caliber, different rounds, but similar caliber, and the one that was made in Soviet Union is shitty. I had two Makarov pistols in my career. I had one back in 2015 when I was in police, and it was made in 1990. It was fresh. It was like, perfectly new. I couldn't shoot like I couldn't hit any target. In order to hit a person, like in order to hit like the head of the person, you had to aim like around the liver and to the left, like way to the side, and then you would probably hit the head. And currently I have something like the one that is produced in 60s, and it like it's rifled, inside of the barrel. It has those. It has zero. It's like completely smooth because of the time and the frequency of use. So it's a shitty pistol, and we are joking that PM, the Pistolet Makarova, PM, is actually an abbreviation for the pistol of masochist, because you can barely shoot even yourself using it, and there's a big chance that you will miss.
It blows up in your hand like your own pecker when you're fighting an orc war and you're sitting there on Pornhub, right?
Yeah, it's more efficient to just throw it and or beat somebody with it. Yeah.
We should we're getting close to handing over to DK running pub chat. So we should get to Aimee for a couple of super chats that we left languishing, and we don't like to do that too often, and then we'll get everybody's round table wrap-ups.
Excellent. Sounds like a great idea. We've got just two super chats. One from ZOMG 1103 for $10. It says, always good to see you, Starsky. Can you talk about the challenges of dealing with mines and the future impact of all the unexploded ordnance left behind by orc attacks?
Ooh.
That's a very good question.
Okay, Starsky, I hate to keep you to a time limit, but let's keep this one to about 2-3 minutes, right?
Yeah,
sorry, let's keep this massive international problem too. No, give him the fucking time. Come on.
Yeah, but we have a second event coming at 10 after, right?
We can wait. Yeah, this is too good a question.
One of the problems that we faced is that Russians have looted a lot of apartments, for example, in Hostomel, and they left a lot of booby traps. So there are like hand grenades and stuff like that found like everywhere, like in kids' bedrooms and stuff. And all of those apartments have to be cleared. There's thousands of them, and every single apartment has to be cleared. And I'm not even mentioning like roads or other structures, like literally everywhere where Russians were noticed, where they been physically, all those places have to be cleared, and yeah, we have our EOD specialists working like 24/7 in that area around Irpin and Bucha and Hostomel. That's gonna be a big problem. Even according to like the most optimistic estimates, it's gonna take like 10 years probably to clear everything. So yeah, that's a big problem. And I'm already not mentioning things like shells that didn't explode or like parts of Russian cruise missiles and stuff. We have found one recently in the forest not far from here. So that's a big problem. But I think eventually we will deal with it. We have a lot of specialists from other countries, for example, Italians and French specialists in this EOD field. They have great experience, and they already help us, as well as other volunteers like those guys that I met a couple of weeks ago. So I think it will be a big international effort, so to say.
That's a good call. And Starsky, if you got any time left in you, we are going to go right to the pub chat show so we can continue bullshitting about whatever the fuck we want, right? So, oh my God, did I take a little flack there? But, YouTube gets mad if we don't stick to the schedule and whatnot. I was trying to defend it, but why even fucking bother anymore? So, let's see. Everybody's got to say what they say and get the fuck out of here. So we're going to turn to Aimee for our super chats. Yep.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, and I did want to add to that too about the landmines and stuff like that and all the ordnance that they find. They're still finding stuff from World War II all over Europe, all the time. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So, and then we have that one last super chat, and it's a good quick one, and it's from our favorite Sam Williams for New Zealand. $10 says, "It's sometimes I find myself thinking in that Russian accent. It's catching."
I know. That's what I said, Sam. That thing, eventually Starsky's going to do it like when he's hanging out with his friends one day by fucking accident, right?
Exactly.
I am so sorry. It's all my fault. I used to work with this Russian guy, and if we had like long meetings where he was involved, I would definitely find myself thinking in the Russian accent, just going, that sounds so funny.
That's too funny.
Oh.
Before we do roundtables, if you can make it really super fast, Monkey, you got your hand up.
Monkey. Aye.
Oi, motherfucking oi, people. Mr. Starsky, nice to see you again. Hope you're doing really, really well and you enjoyed your Independence Day. Fuck them Russians to the max. And yeah, man, I've been listening. AB Science, long time no see. Should we go for a beer soon? Are you still in the country?
I'm still, well, not in the same country as you, but we share a border.
Fair play. I get you. I know where you are. Starsky, you're an awesome man. I fucking love you to bits, and your dog. But like, be careful because I am going to come and steal your dog. I'm going to take your dog. And,
important question: is your dog called Hutch?
But I'm done because we ain't got much time. Love you all, man. Love you all.
Thank you so much, buddy. It was very nice to see you.
Quick question: is your dog called Hutch?
Oh, could I just say congratulations on Usyk's win?
Oh, thank you so much.
Fucking awesome. Do you know what that guy? I tell you what, he got hurt in that fight, but yeah, that guy is untouchable, mate. That guy is untouchable.
Yeah, so he was very angry because Russians pooped into his baby's bed, and his wife had to spend like 1 month in a basement. So yeah, and as for my dog, his name is Fudge, which originates from Foxy. And Foxy originates from Fox because he's ginger, and in Ukrainian he is called Fox Liz.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Awesome.
Fudge is close enough to Hutch. So you've got
Yeah.
Starsky and Hutch. That's all
Yeah.
right then.
That was the idea.
No, I wouldn't take your dog. Dogs are family, bro.
Yeah.
They certainly are. All right. So let's get right around the room. This has been a great evening so far. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to start out with Claire S. Bear. Claire, what are your thoughts on this evening?
I had a really very interesting time. I'm always looking forward to what Operator Starsky has to tell us about what's going on. And the personal touches in some of the humor today was outstanding. And so thank you for that. And I look forward to the next.
Excellent.
Thank
Thank you so much. Thank you. And next up, we have AB Science. AB, it's good to see you again. What are your thoughts on this evening?
Absolutely lovely time. I'll keep it short. Come to pub chat. Keep it cool. And yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we have up next Jut Monk, the Drunk Monkey. Jut, what are your thoughts on this evening?
Well, I've been kind of in and out listening, but as always, Starsky is full of so much information. He's clear, he's concise, he's an absolute awesome guy, and I just wish every single Ukrainian all the fucking best to fight off these fucking bastard aggressors. Sorry to swear.
Thank you so much, Jut. I appreciate it so much. And next up, we have Gary Isle of Wight. Gary, what are your thoughts on this evening? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Well, my opinions may not align with everybody else's, so I try to stay out of it. But very interesting conversation tonight, so I'll leave it at that.
Cool.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. And next up, we have Commander 401. Commander, what are your thoughts on this evening?
My thoughts on this evening, things went great. Since we're probably going to go to pub chat, I had an idea. This year, pub chat celebrating Friendship Day and Ukrainian Independence and Friendship Day. I'm going to do my best to try to be part of the crowd for next year in Kyiv when there are no orcs there, and I want to, celebrate with you guys. It's a global celebration when that happens.
Excellent.
I agree on that.
Perfect. That's a great idea. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And next up, we have our very own Operator Starsky. What are your thoughts on this evening?
It was great. Thank you so much for your questions, as always. Very nice to see my old friends in the chat, and yeah, very nice to see you guys as well.
Thank you so much. Stay safe, please. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Dick Dawson. Dick, what are your thoughts on this evening?
I love getting together and having these chats. I love learning some real info from Starsky and getting it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But as much as I love the camaraderie and just hanging out, and if anything that you take from this show as you watch us all do this, please take this. Starsky is in the middle of defending his homeland from the orc invasion, and he comes here to hang out, and he's just chilling and playing it cool and whatnot. And that's who the Ukrainian folk are. They have that in them. They know that Russian blood is the fertilizer for sunflowers, and it will be spilt, and they will win. So on that, I'm pretty sure we can say goodnight, everybody, and hand it over to pub chat. Oh, sorry, Aimee. Yeah.
Yes, I do get to say too. We have.
Oops.
Yes. We have a super chat from DonnyBoy73 for Canadian $5. Says, I really enjoyed your Times Radio interview on YouTube, Starsky. Thank you so much. I do want to thank everyone in the chat for coming. Thank you ever so much. Thank you so much for your support as well. And I want to thank everyone in the panel for coming as well. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Oh, we have another one. For 50 Swedish krona from Charlie Sweet. Thank you so much. We appreciate your support as well. Thank you. Have a great evening, everyone.
Charlie, here, join us over on the pub chat. We're about to go there now, and we'll shout out a couple of comments because that's a damn nice super chat. Thanks, brother. On that note, let's say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Yeah,
everybody.
catch you on the fucking flip side. Good night.
Best viewer username is Putin will hang in the Kremlin.
It's over. Go home.